Don't forget.
You're live.
I was going to tell him don't forget to sign in because I didn't see him come up. But he's faster than lightning. He's already there.
Howdy, everybody.
Hey.
Red hot oven.
Mike, how you doing? This is
Good
my
to see
wife,
you.
Carol.
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
Carol. Hi, good to
How
see you
doing?
again.
Good to see you.
Okay, so I think we can probably pretty safely start. So if I can get a motion to open the meeting.
What a great idea. That's why we're here. Let's open the meeting.
Second?
Second.
And all in favor? So, first I have to tell everybody, as I've been telling you, that I'm new. And so, less than a week ago I was given this. And I've been reading through it and looking through it and trying to make some kind of sense of it. And we came to your place and did a site visit the other day, the three of us. And I was questioned on that as to whether or not we realized that there were three of us and therefore it was a meeting. So I had to just jot down, we reached out to MMA about that, Maine Municipal Association, and they told me that at the start of the meeting tonight, they wanted me to say a little something, basically on what we did out there and what we saw out there, because it should have really been recorded at the time.
Okay.
So the three of us went out to your site there. I had tried to call prior, but got the voicemail, and so we went out and we were lucky enough to find you folks at home, and you were very generous at showing us around and showing us what your plans were, and that was at 222 Sewell Shores Road in Lebanon. So we had come out there and took a look at things, and we had the site plans that we have here, and during the discussion, you actually came forward and said the measurements on this were wrong, and that the measurements from the house to the actual lot line on the side that the planned addition is actually 27 feet and not 29 feet,
Correct.
which would make, if you put the addition, would make it only 15 feet from that addition to the lot line. And we did take a look around. We noticed what a nice job you've done cleaning up that little stream and planting all around it. And you showed us where your leach chambers were. And we talked a little bit about egress and exits out of the addition, should that become a reality.
Yeah.
And basically it was a fairly easy visit. It was fairly easy to see. The one thing I did want to note that's not marked on here is that there is a rock wall along that side of the property, and you showed us that's not actually your property border. The property border is just away from the house.
That's just keep the stone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So those were the few things that I saw on here that I thought we would mention, and Dawn took some measurements out there to confirm, and you talked with Bernie a little bit about access to the crawl space and how your septic system was set up.
Right.
So that was basically the meeting that we had out there. And then we did tell you that we were not going to make any decisions based on that site visit.
Right.
And we did not. The fellas left in one car, I left in another, and we went our separate ways. So no decisions and no discussion were had after that meeting.
That's right.
Or since then by the members of the board. So, go on to my next little thing here. So then, like I said, I actually was called by Chairman Harlow, and he asked us about the site visit, and then we wound up talking to MMA quite a bit, and I've actually found out that we're supposed to have an agenda, so I've written a little agenda, and we're gonna follow that
Very
tonight.
Fine.
So the first thing to do is we've already all introduced ourselves around here, so we can skip that. And the second is just so that you know that Lebanon has a Board of Appeals ordinance, which allows us as your Board of Appeals to hear the information and make a decision based on recommendations from our code enforcement. Because you're on the waterfront, we look at the shoreline zoning and based on recommendations and help with the MMA manual. So that's where we get our jurisdiction from.
Okay.
So at this time, I'd like to ask you to tell us a little bit more about your project. And like I said, you probably have to repeat some of the things you told us
Sure.
the other day.
Right. I don't.
Well, our project basically is that we have a problem with bedroom space. We have a larger family now, growing grandchildren, and we just don't have the room, and it's a problem, obviously. So we'd like to put on an addition that is 12 by 24, giving us two 12 by 12 bedrooms.
We'd
And
also eliminate one bedroom because we need another bathroom
yes.
and we need laundry. We have no laundry facility up there, which is really difficult with the numbers with the kids and things, so.
Well, and the laundry facilities are really, these rooms that we have, there's only 800 square feet in the main body of this camp, built in 1960. And so these rooms were really very small. They're only 9.5 by 7.5 and 9.5 by 8.5. So you can't even put a second bed in these rooms. They're so small.
Falling over too.
And again,
No
we
closets.
we have
no storage.
an immediate family of 9 or 10, depending.
Well,
on
we have my mother who is 90 who built the house. My father built it, so she's with us. So she needs a room that she
To her
can
own
use,
whenever
which
she
would be
comes.
a little easier for her. And we have 3 grandchildren with we don't know how many more to come.
Right.
And we like to enjoy it, and it's getting difficult with.
It's constantly, it's a pull out a
Kids do
sofa.
that.
Yeah.
They do. They're good and they're
And they
little
love children
and they're
do that
great.
as well,
and
but it's
we love
hard.
to see them. And they all travel a distance too. Everybody lives at least 2 hours. My daughter's mid-coast Maine. She's up 4 hours, 3.5 hours. So when they do come, it's a long visit, and obviously we love seeing them. And by the end of the weekend, it's usually okay. But they're great, and they want to come up and use the place too. Enjoy the water. The water's great, and so basically we know we're encroaching on that sideline, and I believe it's 25 feet. Is it, Mike?
Correct.
To the and that's the setback, and we've got 27. We'd need 12 of it, of course, leaving 15 feet to the setback if this was approved for us.
There's not a lot of other options either. You can't go back. We have our septic. You can't really go to the side because the shoreline goes in, and we have the stream that I don't want to touch that stream. It's a natural stream, and we've done a lot to maintain it like that. There's also trees there. There's no trees on this side. There's really nothing that it would. We wouldn't touch anything really.
Yeah, no vegetation would have to come down. It would virtually, as far as the environment, I think it would be a very, very minimal.
I think we also talked, we probably wouldn't even put a foundation. It's a seasonal home. So it would just be on footings unless it was required to have a foundation. Obviously we could. But my feeling is it would be less impact without a foundation.
Mm-hmm. And again, my wife mentioned this other side where we looked at too and said, could we possibly put the rooms over here? And we're 15 feet from the water with a measuring tape. And
You're so close.
just because the water
The shoreline.
circles, the shoreline comes right around the house, the camp. And of course, it was built in 1960, and there were no setbacks probably at that time. I don't know.
No, there weren't.
No.
Question,
Yes.
you said there's no other alternative. Have you thought about going up
Yes.
instead of
We
out?
have, we can't.
And
Yeah.
main structure is 2x4s, and they're not even 16 on center. They're more
We
like,
contemplated that.
and because I was lucky enough to have some old pictures when it was being built, and I can see the structure just isn't it. I believe you have to have 2x6 now. Like, is it on the bottom floor?
Yeah.
Just asking.
They would have
No,
to do
good,
major
great
construction.
question.
They have to do
Don, did
major
you-
construction to the first structure in order to apply a second
Right.
structure.
Right. Did you have any questions for me?
Not necessarily on the structure. Mike and I just had a brief conversation outside. What I'm not clear on, and maybe I do understand now, is that you denied them based on setbacks because of the local ordinance.
Yes.
My concern is that this entire structure exists in shoreland protection,
Right.
and we need to get additional approval from the DEP in order for them to make,
Permit
This-
by rule.
and explain that to me again, Mike.
So they would take their plan, their whole process here, and contact the DEP. And I believe the contact is Cameron Adams. And he would issue out, you do a site visit, and issue out, if approved, a permit by rule. And then look to in collaboration with the local municipality, an approval to do this project.
I was hoping that this would
I
come out a little
always-
later, because I wanted to hear you first, but just so that you know, I have been here, like you saw me here, I've been here really all morning. And so I did call Mike Stoltz up at MMA, and we went through this whole section of the information together, and that's Shoreland. So Title 38 of the Maine laws, subsection 438, requires the Board of Appeals send copies of all shoreline zoning variance applications and any supporting material to the Department of Environmental Protection for review and
DEP.
comment. What's that?
DEP.
Yeah, well, it shortens it down here, but they say it out the first time. For the review and commitment at least 20 days before taking action on the application.
Correct.
So, and I'm not blaming you, so don't jump on me. But, so what hasn't happened here, and what we've identified, and what I'm working with the MMA on, if you'll be patient with me a little bit, is that we need to have a checklist. And the checklist needs to say, is this in shoreland? And then when it goes to Jenny knows she has to send to DEP prior to the scheduling of a public hearing such as
Right,
that.
first step's I deny, and then steps on.
Correct. And what they're saying is, like, when they bring in the applications to you and stuff, yeah, they're saying not so much. It needs to go to Jenny with a checklist. And then what happens, which was kind of done backwards in your case, and I'm sorry for that, but I wasn't here then, is that the checklist needs to be filled out, and you need to have all your documentation and all your reasoning, and then we have something to work with. So I'm looking at your application, and you're asking for a hardship application, which is basically based on the fact that you have the additional grandchildren. And at this point in time, I can't approve or deny that because I don't have all the documentation that goes with it. I don't have a 20-day letter to DEP because then DEP actually has the right to either be here for this public hearing or they have the right to submit their findings in writing, which has to be part of what we consider. Also, this application calls for 4 criteria that constitute a hardship in the state of Maine. And none of this is filled out. I did find some of the answers.
But he
Right.
submitted an attachment, and
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
allowed.
I did find some of the answers here, but I'm not finding all of them. So I think at this point, I don't want to deny your appeal because I don't feel I have all the information. But I can't allow it either because I don't have all the information. So at this point, if you'll be patient with me, what I'd like to do is get all this information to DEP on Monday, allow them to have their say with regards to the shoreline zoning and whether or not they see any problems, or because there's also, they can help us with this. They can help us to grant a variance with conditions, and I don't know what they would put, or I don't know if they would just deny. But it's certainly something that legally I have to see before I can confirm or deny.
Those questions, are there questions we can answer at this time?
It might be a good idea, yeah, for them to actually take that back.
I'm curious what we need to do here, what you need from us, I guess.
So, what I need from you to do is, if I can, I will give you personally a call on Monday. I'm in the middle of making this checklist as I went over with MMA. I've promised Jenny that when she comes in bright and early on Monday morning, it will be sitting on her computer, and she can have a chance to print it out how she wants and get it all ready. And then there'll be a checklist, and then we can kind of look at this and we know what's here and what isn't here, and then we can because she's done all the advertising via the newspaper already. That's all been done. She's obviously notified your butters and they're here, and so I won't keep you either. I'm going to let you folks have a chance to speak on this, and it's on videotape, so we can utilize that later, and that way if you don't want to come back again, you don't have to. It'll be on tape and we can use that. So I don't want to deny you your chance to speak. You were kind enough to come.
We'll be here.
Okay. All right, then we can wait for that. So, I mean, if you'll just be a little patient and understand that, less than a week, I've been doing this, and I just want to do it right.
So we need another meeting. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we do.
And we don't live in the area, obviously, so we need a little notice.
Done in Weymouth, I saw.
Yeah, we're 2 hours, and I also have my mom who lives in Weymouth, so sometimes I have things to do with her, so I need a little notice of when we might have another meeting.
We would.
That's all.
I'd have Jenny call you to schedule that, and I'm sure she'd be more than happy to work with you since you're already here once.
Yeah.
And this was actually, because I'm new and I didn't know, and I actually was after the fact because all of this was done prior to me coming onto the board. But we will work with you on a date. With that.
I'm just looking at the calendar here too. 20 days. Just let's say it's going to be from September. So we're talking.
Does it have to be 20 days?
We have to give them 20 days prior to when we attend.
You haven't spoken to DEP yet?
No, but the thing is that we have to give them 20 days, but then they have to respond back to us in 14. And once we have the response, we can go ahead and do that. Well, no, it would be. I'm thinking they'll get right back to us.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good.
They're usually pretty good.
We can ask them if based on the circumstances
I'm just looking at the calendar trying to get a sense of when we might.
Right.
We're away for a week in September too, so we have to work around it.
But
Obviously, we'd like to get it done as soon as
you
possible.
believe me, there's nobody more sorry than me. I was all excited for my
I just
first
don't want to.
appeals board meeting, and
We were too.
I just want to make sure that it's done correct, because it's as much for your protection as it is for ours, because this variance then stays with your property. So let's just say something happened and you didn't have the money to do this. This variance stays with your property. So if you sold it, the next person would have it, the next person would have it, and you know, so that stays with your property through perpetuity, so I wanna make sure that it's done correct and it's legal and it's all set,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
either way, so. All right, so I appreciate that, and I think
Okay,
at this
so-
time, I'm just gonna ask if anybody else has a.
I have a question.
Okay.
We're abutters to their property, but we're on the farther side because they have a lot in between us.
Correct.
What do we have to do with this anyways?
Just because you're butters, and so the law does not require us to notify butters of this hearing, but it's been long-term Lebanon thing that the
Policy.
appeals board does give butters because you know, we don't want somebody to wake up in the morning and see a new building going up beside them and say, how did that happen?
Yeah, we don't have no problem with them building a couple of bedrooms on that side of the house at all, or even on the other side.
Right.
Whichever way they can do it or whatever, I mean, we have no problem with that at all.
Right. Yeah. And
They
that.
do need it, believe me, they do need it.
Yeah. But at any rate, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the and I have to find it here, was the hardship itself, because the law is pretty specific about hardships. So I just wanted to give you a minute to kind of hear that, because I want you to do your application better. Okay. So a hardship isn't necessarily we have extra grandchildren. Okay. So the law is fairly clear, and you can actually find
I was
this
just gonna
online.
Where would I?
Yeah,
what
this
is it?
this is the manual for a local land use appeals board. But you can go right on to Maine State Gov and you can look up. I will tell you the law. It's
Chip is gonna make copies of that section for
Oh,
us.
perfect.
For the law?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
The
it's
law that.
Well, yeah.
Great.
yeah.
What
It's
she's going
Okay,
over
that
right
would
now,
be-
he's gonna
okay.
make a copy.
okay.
of
Yeah.
it.
So it's Title 30A.
Okay.
And it's subsection 4353.
Okay.
And that starts talking to hardships. So there are 4 criteria, and that's exactly what you see. That's exactly what you see here on your appeals board application. So these 4 things, like, they're not here by accident. These 4 things are the criteria that the law requires. You have to meet one or more of those 4 criteria.
Which are in our appeal process.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's here on their application. Right.
They actually
So-
have to meet all 4.
They have to meet all 4? No, they have to meet at least one of 4.
Right.
Correct.
One. Okay.
Right. So, and I mean, like I said, they're pretty straightforward. And the only other thing that I can tell you, besides reading this and taking a look at the law, the only other thing that I can tell you is that there is also, which is not mentioned on this paperwork, but a hardship due to disability as well. So I don't know if that pertains to you, but that's also in the law, and it's not with these 4 for some reason. It's
Oh, it is.
further on down the line. I know.
But isn't it also that you can how can I put this, step outside the criterias as a board, a board who makes judgment, which can be brought to Superior Court after, consider other hardships. And like in his case right now,
Right.
okay?
So-
You're not gonna have 5 kids sleep in a bedroom, okay?
Correct.
And you need to consider that as a hardship.
Okay, so I'm not sure, and like I said, I'm still working with them
Yep.
at MMA, and these fellas may know more, but this is the brand new 2017.
Yep.
And it says clearly that
But that's why it goes from here to
You know.
the Superior Court, because it can be changed.
right, because because a judge can challenge, well, it goes
Yes.
from here and it goes to the county commissioners, right?
Yeah.
And then
And
it
it's
goes,
whether you want that to
so-
go there too as a board.
right, well, I would certainly never deny anybody the chance to,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
no,
after
no.
we hear everything,
Right.
if that was the decision of this
Yeah.
board,
Yeah.
I would certainly never deny anybody else due
Mhm.
process and
Yeah.
allowability. I think
Quasi
that would be
judicial
wrong.
board, yep.
Correct. So, I mean, we're only like the town's answer to it, you know,
Yeah.
there's so many more answers. So what I would advise you to do is read those 4 criteria and see if you can fit in that. But if you can't, that's what I was going to tell you, is it's not the end of the world. We're not the end of the world here. There are other places that you can go and be heard, and other places that have more power than we do, you know, within the state. So let's see if we can't like get this all done and see if we can't fit that into some of these criteria. See what the DEP has to say about the shoreline zoning and about what they can do to work with us and with you on shoreline. And then we'll all meet again and we'll put it all on the table and we'll look at what it looks like, and then you know, we can make the decision whether or not we feel comfortable stepping outside of those guidelines to give you the variance. And if not, we can certainly, and Mike can help send you forward to the county commissioners who have more power over that than we do.
And make no mistake, I think we're all here to help you with your project.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
We just need to go through the right steps to get there.
Okay.
Right. And that, yeah, and that's really
Yeah.
my feeling is that I would just like to, I mean, I understand that the whole reason it comes down to the children and their safety and their comfort and their health. You know, you can't stuff all those kids in.
Right,
you know.
it's for all of us, it's for my mom,
Right,
it's for all of
yeah.
us, really,
Yeah.
it's tight quarters, so the children, it's increasing, so that we have no control over, but yeah, you're right, you can only do so much. And this house was
Right.
built in the 60s, and you know, we've
just-
done all.
So I had another question for you too that I didn't ask you out there. So the original house was built. It was the porch, the glassed in porch and
No.
add-on.
No, that was it.
That was all built all at the same
Well,
time.
that
well,
was, that was a shed.
It
It
was a
was
shed.
attached to the house,
And
but
we-
the frame,
Years ago,
everything
my
was
mother changed it
converted
into
it.
a porch and
25 years
made
ago
more use of it,
anyway.
because again, house
But
was
the
too small.
footprint of the house, the
Yeah,
actual
it's always
footprint
been,
of the house
everything's
was
been
all
there.
the
Yeah,
same.
my dad built it, and I get pictures of him building it, so you know,
Yeah.
it was always that same structure.
That's actually good.
It was a,
You guys rebuilt the deck on the backside,
We had to, things were falling down, well,
and that wasn't expanded during that construction?
No, really, it
Not
was,
really. Most
had
of it
been,
was- yeah.
yeah.
Because you know, one of the things that we gave you there is that within shoreland zoning,
Yeah.
you're allowed up to a lifetime of 30% increase in the basically floor space. It's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But floor space also includes deck space,
That's-
but decks built prior to 1989.
Mhm.
Mike, did you have a?
Yes, no, I was just gonna mention that.
Decks built prior to 1989. So that's why when we came out and I saw that deck, why that was so important because you didn't have it in your sketches. It was
Yeah.
it was in the plan for the septic system,
right.
but it wasn't in your sketch, and that makes a difference into how large an expansion you can make.
Yeah, we had to redo them all, they were, as you can imagine, from 1960, they were
Well, the
built in a shoestring
framework,
and-
yeah, even, but that was many years ago
Yeah.
too, the frame, but
so
we just recently put on the new decking because the old stuff was falling apart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, you did a great job.
Splinters.
Yeah, a lot of splinters on that deck,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, so don't get discouraged. So
No,
let me
Okay.
get with Jenny on Monday.
Yeah.
We'll send that out to the DP, and the minute that we hear back from them, I will. I'll make sure that one of us gets in touch with you, and we'll schedule the next meeting. And
alright, so we'll hear from you on Monday though, about the checklist, is that?
yes, I will have that ready
Okay.
on Monday, and you can get that.
Could you email it to us, and I only say that because we may not be here on Monday. We're not sure.
Would
Chances are.
the other members of the board mind if I said that directly?
Of course.
Just to make
You
sure.
should even have Jenny put it probably on letterhead, so Jenny, just give Jenny the email and she can
Okay.
It'd
email
just
it out
make it
once
easier
it's
to
done.
read it, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rather than mailing to you all the email.
Yeah,
I'm,
because
I'm always
yeah,
the
maybe
opposite of
back here.
everybody, I like everything on
So do you need
paper,
a mo-
Well,
do you need-
if
do you
you
need a
mail it,
motion
you made me
from the
here
board
by
to
the
have
time
the
it shows
chair
up.
do that?
Give me the pen.
Mike was suggesting we make a motion of some sort, what was
To
he?
have the chair do that, to email these
Email,
people with all the
okay.
information.
Yeah,
I don't think we have to actually make a motion to email the information, but before
By
we
the
leave,
chair.
I am going to have to make a motion that we
Move forward.
move forward with this, that we create the checklist, that we get it to you, and that we allow time for DEP to respond to our inquiry.
Okay.
now, are we also asking them to go back to that
I need a second
application?
on my motion first.
Sure, why not?
Thank you. Thank God. Sorry, but we have to. Yeah.
Are we also asking them to redo that application to talk about the four
Yes,
criteria?
you're gonna have to get that checklist,
So you have to
go
amend
through
it.
the checklist and amend your appeal
Application.
application. Okay. I just wanna see it all right and
Yeah.
and I think, and not only that, but if we can't approve it, when we have a competent document to pass on to the next people, and we can tell them, you know, why we couldn't and why maybe they can, you know, it all depends. If we can't, competency is a big deal, and when it gets passed on to the next people, then they don't have to go through this whole thing with you all over again, it's all right there.
Do
So,
we have it? I haven't seen a
Because
copy
it
of the
follows the
application.
property.
but-
right, if it stays with the property.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't see it here, I don't know, maybe
What are you looking for?
a copy of the
copy of the
application.
application.
I see
for-
this,
to
for
rebuild.
this for the building permit I have, but
The application,
This
but
is.
that's the permit, but I don't,
That's the
do we have to
application
file an
right there.
application
Oh,
for?
is this both the building permit? and-
no,
Yeah, it
there's
looks
no,
like this.
the reason why there's no building
is
permit
right.
is because it was denied.
This is what
Okay.
your application looks like that.
I don't have a copy of that, you didn't,
They can have mine.
I don't.
Oh, application for
There's a
variance.
copy.
Was that a variance?
Yeah, so this
that's
is
what I
like
was
the
looking
Yeah,
for,
we,
and
yeah, we didn't get a
Yeah.
copy
if
of
you don't
that
mind,
apparently.
that would be.
Making sure I
Uh,
don't have any
I'll
notes.
keep the page that has all the notes on it.
I really do appreciate you both working with us and
Oh,
allowing us to
no,
access
no
time.
problem, we
That's very-
understand, and
you know,
certainly, we have time on our hands.
Summer's
so-
over anyway, so they can sleep in bed for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
They're going back to school.
So what email am I send it to?
okay, you want.
Oh, why don't you write it down because
I
we
was
have
just
it on
gonna
the
say-
video
Can
and
we make
Yeah.
a copy of that?
I don't need it, because, I'm sure the next time we have a meeting, I'll get another copy, so I don't need to
You can
keep
make
this
sure you
old
do.
copy. They can have that.
Thank you so much.
Oh, the amended one, right?
Yeah, that'll
Right.
be an amended one.
All right,
I'm putting my email address because he doesn't look at his half the time and he can
Hip
never see it.
account.
Thank you.
yeah,
for
I'm talking on the email.
Okay, I did not see this. Okay.
yeah, so I'll pass that on to Jenny and then as soon as she gets everything up on the letterhead,
Okay,
she'll send it along to you and
Perfect.
we'll go
Alright,
from
we'll get
there.
that.
okay,
And
thank you.
we need to bring that application back in person, I would assume.
I don't think it has to come back in person, man.
Well, we'll be back up on Thursday probably.
Yeah,
and
you know,
then-
we're back and forth
like
all
a-
the time
Right.
anyway, so, and I'm sure scheduling for the next thing, but that'll be an
I just know
easy
that we have a couple
workaround.
things coming up,
But
but
we
I
got
just,
it
but as
covered.
long as we can
Yeah,
work
we'll
together,
all work
that's-
together,
yeah,
you
Yeah,
know, and-
that'll
that's fine.
Yeah, you know, I
And,
mean, especially you giving us a little bit of leeway on
Yeah.
the notifications
Oh, yeah.
for DEP, that should have been done. and
Sure.
I'm sorry that it wasn't.
Not a problem.
It happens.
It's a nice,
Learning curve for
nice
everybody.
job for your first time as chair. and-
Thank you. Thanks.
Alright.
Okay, so I guess at this time I'll just open it up one more time if anybody has any questions or comments.
Public
They'd like-
comment, yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting. Okay, so then I guess at this time we will
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second. Wow. All in favor? No, you do that.
I'll make you wait. You're doing good. Practice because sooner or later. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Mike, thank you.
Are you doing the meeting or are you done?
Done.